Hello everyone. In this very special occasion, we would like to present our topic today, Sociolinguistics Unit 10, Pragmatics. We are from the third group. The first speaker is Hariyadi, the second speaker is Royhan Naufaldi, and the third speaker is Hermin Wijayanti. Happy audiences. Pragmatics is subfield of linguistics, which looks at the meanings of utterance in the context. These utterances are interpreted with references to the context, including the setting, speakers, background knowledge, and many more. It is different from semantics. The semantic is only the study about the meaning of the word, but in pragmatics we can see the context. And this chapter discusses 4 topics. They are speech act theory, implicature, politeness theory, and pronounce and address terms. For the first is speech act theory. Speech act is a theory of language developed by Austin in 1962 and followed by Searle in 1975. It is the study that concerns in the meaning of the act performed by speaker's utterance. Speech act can be described as utterance which the speaker says or the speaker performs in every speech. Many utterances may be said to make proposition, and here, utterances and propositions are the building blocks of speech act. Types of proposition. There are 4 types of propositions. The first one is constitutive utterance. It can be experienced or imagined, in which such propositions can be said to be either true or false. For example, your dinner's ready. The second proposition is ethical proposition. It may be true or false, although not in the same sense. However, establishing truth and falsity are not the real purpose of ethical proposition. Its real purpose is to serve as a guide to behavior in some word or other. For example, a lady never lies. The third type of propositions is emphatic utterance. It is a type of speech in which ties are created by an exchange of words. The act of uttering is more important than the content. For example, nice day. And the fourth types of propositions is performative utterance. It changes in some way the conditions that exist in the word. Validity conditions must be met. For example, I pronounce they husband and wife. After the speaker say I pronounce they husband and wife, the two persons are the husband and wife. Happy audiences. There are 3 types of speech act. The first one is a locutionary act. It is the actual act of uttering or the actual words uttered. For example, the room is hot. When the speaker says the room is hot, means that he or she just give information that the room is hot. So, it can be meant that the temperature of the room is hot. The second type is an illocutionary act. It is the social functions of what is said or the force or intention behind the words. By uttering the locutions, the room is hot, the speaker actually requests the addressee to close or open the window. So, there is meaning behind the words. And the third type of speech act is perlocutionary act. It is the resulting act of what is said or the effect of the illocutions on the hearer. This effect is based on the particular context in which the speech act was mentioned. When the speaker say the room is hot, it would lead the addressee to open or close the windows. In speech act theory, there are 2 perspectives, speaker versus hearer. Austin focuses on how the speakers realize their intention in speaking, and on the other hand, Searle focuses on how listeners respond to the utterance. Well, happy audiences. The second is implicature. Chris defines cooperative principle as the cooperative principle makes your conversational contribution such as is required at the stage at which it occurs by the accepted purpose or directions of the talk exchange in which you are engaged. Chris lists 4 maxims that follow from the cooperative principle. The first is quantity, second quality, the third relation, and the fourth is manner. The first, quantity maxim. It requires you to make your contributions as informative as it requires, but no more so. For example, where is the post office? Oh, it is on the corner of Bangkok intersection. Here, the hearer or listener just answer as the question, where is the post office? And the answer is, it is on the corner of Bangkok intersections. No more. The second maxim is quality. It requires you not to say what you believe to be false or that for which you lack adequate evidence. For example, where is the post office? Oh, as far as I know, it is on the corner of intersection. Here, the hearer actually not to say what he or she believes to be false by saying, as far as I know. The third maxim is relation. In relations maxim, it must be relevant. For example, where is the post office? Oh, it is on the corner of Bangkok intersection. The answer is relevant to the questions. Where is the post office? The fourth maxim is manner. It requires you to avoid obscurity of expressions and ambiguity and to be brief and orderly. For example, where is the post office? You mean the nearest post office? Well, it is on the corner of Bangkok intersection. The listener asks by saying, you mean the nearest post office, is to make sure the post office as in the question. By following the 4 maxim, we will have great conversation and the conversation will run well. However, it is also possible to flout this maxim to create implicature or implied meaning. This is what occurs in indirect speech. For example, I'm out of gas. There is a gas station around the corner. Here, B does not say, but conversationally implicates that the gas station is open, because otherwise his utterance would not be relevant in the context. Happy audiences. All conversation is a cooperative activity, one that depends on speakers and listeners sharing a set of assumptions about what is happening. The speakers and the listeners are guided by the maxim and the process of implicature, which allows them to figure out relations between the said and unsaid.
Well, now I'm going to explain about politeness and its relation to sociolinguistics. Here's the outline of these materials. They are face, aspects of face, politeness and worldwide, politeness and indirectness, and politeness strategies. Politeness and the management of face. There are 2 main concepts in these explanations. The first one is the concept of face and the second one is its politeness and its relation to the society. First, the concept of face is the public self-image of a person. as a kind of expression that we want to show to others or a self-description of oneself in a society. Then let's relate it to the politeness itself. Another definition of politeness is about showing awareness of another person's face. Thus, politeness means to know how to be nice, tactful, and modest to other people. There are two aspects of face. There are negative face and positive face. Negative face needs to be independent to have freedom of action without being imposed on by others. While the positive face, it is needed to be accepted and liked by others, to be treated as a member of the same group, to know that his or her wants are shared by others. Politeness and worldwide. There are four basic factors here: outgroupeness, social positions, age difference, and gender difference. When we use politeness, we might consider those factors. We consider outgroupeness when the interlocutor doesn't belong to our circle, so that we have to use different way in delivering intention. The second one is social positions. We have to consider the positions of the interlocutor in society. It would be awkward if we use the same word choice to our lecturer and our best friend. Moreover, age difference also play important role in politeness. In Indonesia, we have to differentiate the way we talk to older people and younger people due to the prevalent norms in society. Lastly, the gender difference also need to be considered. We have to use different way in talking with male and female. That mostly when we are talking with females, we use more polite way in the case of small circle friendship. It is considered as more polite when we are using indirectness or something that we want to say implicitly, for we know that our beloved country in Indonesia, especially for Japanese people, we often use chit chat at first before saying our intention. As an example, in making a request, we often elaborate the background why we want something rather than straight to the point. However, indirectness also can be impolite if we use it to insult people, even though it sounds more polite than we bash a hate utterance to them straightly. Sarcasm can be an example of how indirectness sounds insulting. Politeness strategies. There are actually three kinds of politeness strategies. There are say nothing approach, off-record expression, and on-record expressions. The first one is say nothing approach. It is used without uttering a word, but it has intention that the problem will be recognized by the interlocutor. As an example, you want to enroll yourself in an agenda. The interlocutor says, "You may sit down here and fill in the form." But you actually forget to bring a pen. You don't ask the interlocutor, but you are keep trying to look for it by putting a worried face, open your back, then look at the interlocutor's eyes trying to say something in silence. And finally, the interlocutor knows your problem and says, "Let me lend you a pen." Thus, it means that the speaker is successfully in using say nothing approach. The second one is off-record expression. It is used implicitly by the speaker to the interlocutor in order to be polite. We can use the same situation as the previous example. But the difference is that you are trying to lend a pen without asking the interlocutor to lend a pen. As an example, you only utter, "Oh, I forgot to bring my pen." Then the interlocutor replied, "Don't worry, let me lend you a pen." You are intended to ask for lending a pen without asking that you want to lend. The intention is uttered implicitly. The last one is on-record expression. There are two kinds of on-record expression. The first one is spoke on record, and the second one is mitigating devices. Both of them are uttered explicitly, but the one is polite and the other might be impolite according to the relationship between the speaker and the interlocutor, or the closeness. The first one is spoke on record. It is used explicitly. It might be impolite if the interlocutor is not that close in relationship with the speaker. As an example, I asked the interlocutor in an enrollment agenda, which means that I actually don't have a close relationship with the interlocutor, but I asked him or her a pen because I don't bring one like, lend me a pen, without using any consequences. If I use that utterance to someone that doesn't have close social relation with me, it can be impolite. However, if I use that bold on record expression to my close friend, they will accept it without being offended. In line to that, there's bold on record expression that sounds more polite. It's mitigating devices. The intention is altered explicitly, but with a polite way. As example, in asking to lend a pen, would you lend me a pen, please? The intention is uttered explicitly, but the relation might be maintained in a fine way because that's polite. Now we move to the use of pronoun. We will discuss two parts here. The first one is power and solidarity, and the second one is pronouns and positioning. Here's the elaborations of tu and vous. In French, tu means singular you, while vous means formal you. The tu form described as a familiar form, while the vous form described as a polite one. There are tu and vous in other countries, as what we can see here. Actually, I don't know how to pronounce them, so let me give an example of Japanese to make it crystal clear. In Japanese, the tu form is koe, while the vous form is panjenengan or sampean. Pronouns and positioning. We have to consider the pronoun that we use to address people in order to consider their position. There are two aspects that we have to consider. There are common ground and social distance. The common ground focuses on the sameness. So we consider the language used due to the sameness, such as the same family, the same race, the same culture, or even our small circle of friendship. As example, a kid who are older than his friends who are in the same class would be called the same as the others, even though he is older than the others. However, the social distance focuses on difference. We consider the language used due to the differences, such as culture, race, etc. As example, we tend to use prof or pak to our lecturer than calling his name straightly, even though maybe our age is the same.
How do you name or address another? By title, by first name, by last name, by a nickname, by some combination of this, or by nothing at all. Okay? This is the part of naming and title. The example in English culture, there's a name, Dr. John Smith. We can call John Smith by his title in doctor, and the first name John, last name Smith by a nickname Johnny or Jones, by some combination of this Dr. John Smith, or by nothing at all. We only call John. All kinds of combinations are possible in English. For example, Dr. John Smith, Dr. Smith, Smith, John, Johnny, Doc, Sir, Mac. Dr. Smith himself may also expect doctor for a patient, Dad from his son, John from his brother, Dear from his wife, and Sir from a police officer who stops him if he drives too fast. And he might be rather surprised if any one of these substituted for any other. For example, excuse me, dear, can I see your license? From this police officer. According to Brown and Ford study, In 1961, of naming practices in English was based on an analysis of modern place. The naming practices observed in a business in Boston, and the reported usage of business executives and children in the Midwestern United States in Uredale in England. They report that the asymmetric use of title plus name and the first name indicated inequality in power, that mutual TLN indicated inequality and unfamiliarity, and that mutual indicated equality and familiarity. The switch from mutual TLN to event is also usually initiated by the more powerful member of the relationship. Address by title alone is the less intimate form of address in that title usually designate ranks of occupations, for example, colonel, doctor, waiter, or writer. They are devoid of personal content. We can argue, therefore, that Dr. Smith is more intimate than doctor alone, acknowledging as it does that the one person's name is known and can be mentioned. Using another first name is, of course, a sign of familiarity, or at least of a desire for such familiarity. When someone uses your first name alone in addressing you, you may feel on occasion that one person is presuming an intimacy you do not recognize, or, alternatively, is trying to assert some power over you. Using a nickname or pen name shows an even greater intimacy. This is the important. We have to learn how to address someone or how to call someone. Well, this is the end part of these presentations. There are some conclusions about my group presentation. There are three major theoretical frameworks in pragmatic at glance: speak-I theory, grace maxim, and politeness theory. These frameworks are all used to explore how language is used and understood in context. It is about how each utterance in a speech act, the indirect speech act, can lead to implicator, and that the use of language in different ways to protect our own and others' face. It then turned to pronouns and other terms in address to explore how these aspects of language are used to position the speaker and addresser in the interaction.